Hello everybody. So my name is Shyam. So I'll be teaching you the Informatica PowerCenter. So before going into Informatica PowerCenter, let's have the demo session on Informatica. So now in this particular demo session, we'll try to understand what is Informatica, where do we need this Informatica tool, and how do we use this particular Informatica tool. So let's see how it goes, and let's try to understand about our Informatica. So let's try to write down Informatica PowerCenter. So what do we have in this? So now to understand the Informatica PowerCenter, we should understand a few more concepts like data warehouse. Okay, so let's try to see what are data warehouse databases, and second thing is like what is ETL, and third thing is like what is Informatica. So let's try to understand. The first one is like data warehouse databases. So let's go with a small example over here. So generally we will be doing some kind of online shopping, right? Suppose think that I have opened a Amazon site to buy a particular product. Suppose think that this is my Amazon site I have opened to buy a product. So once you open an Amazon site, what we have inside that? The first page shows us like a search button over here. So what we have in this? So in the search page, you can write whatever the things you want. Suppose I want to write something like shoes. So when you write the shoes over there and hit on enter, what happened? You can see all the products coming up on the screen like this. So what you do? You try to choose one of the product and click on OK. So if you are a new customer, then it will navigate to the next page asking you for your customer information like your first name, middle name, last name, your email ID, your phone number, everything. Once you fill up all these details, when you click on OK, it navigates to next page showing you the order reviews. So this is the product you have chosen to buy, and the quantity is 1, and this is something your price you have, and this is the address we need to deliver. So once you OK with the order, then finally what you do, you go to your payment page where you will be using your credit card or your debit card or your Amazon balance or something else. Finally you click on OK. So once you click on OK, you will place your order. So this is what happens in general when you go with your online shopping. Okay, so I could say that this is my product page, this is my customer information page, this is my order review page, and finally this is my payment page. So now in the front screen you can see all these things, but you do not know what happens at the back end. For example, see here on the first page I chose the product. In the second page I gave all my customer information. The combination of these two, like your product information as well as your customer information, both can be viewed under your product order page. So how do I get the data from my first page and the second page into my third page? So in general, if you try to store the data somewhere, then only you'll be getting the data in your third page, right? So where do all this data go once I enter? So in the front screen you don't see all these things, but the back end you have a database. You have a database where it contains your product table, it contains your customer table, it contains your order table, at the same time it contains your payment table. So once you opt for this particular product and once you click on OK, before navigating to the next page, whatever the product you opted, that details will be sent to my product table. Similarly, once you gave all your details in your customer page, and once before going to or navigating to my third page, this data will be sent to my customer information table, similarly my order, and finally my product. Okay, so this is how I will be storing my data, or I will be saving my data related to my transaction which is done as of now. So I can say that this is the transaction I just did it. So I could say that this is my current transaction, or I could say like it's a live transaction. It's a live transaction. So the database which holds your current data or your live data, or I would say that similar to me, many people will be doing a lot of transactions on the same day, on the same time maybe, right? One from US, one from India, one from some other country, or within the same country, within multiple states. So many people will be trying to do a lot of online shopping on the same day, on same time. So all these current transactions will be stored at my database, which is available at my backend. So the database which holds your current or live transaction is called like Oltp database. Oltp database. So what is Oltp database? So Oltp database is nothing but it's online transaction processing database. So it's online transaction processing database. So the name itself implies that the transactions which are processed online, those such kind of data are been stored in the database, and that database is called as your Oltp database. So when you try to do a current transaction, when you try to do a transactions in any site, it can be Amazon, it can be any other business as well. It can be any other business, not only related to your product, but it can be your, suppose like insurance, suppose you're trying to pay some kind of premium. So that kind of business, it can be anything. So whatever the transaction you do, at the back end, we have one database where it stores all your current or live transactions, and that database is called as your online transaction processing database. Okay, so coming back here again, so now we came to know that we have a database called as Oltp. So now we came to know that there is a database called as your Oltp database. So this contains your current data. Fine. So now I'm telling that here this is your current, but up to what level it is current? So it is like throughout the year, throughout 2 years, throughout the 5 years, or throughout the day, throughout the week, until when it will be, until what level it is current. So now here we'll be having one concept which helps us to understand like until when the data in my Oltp will be current. So in real time, when you work in a particular project, your data will be loaded from your Oltp database to somewhere else. So that loading of data from my Oltp to somewhere else can be done with multiple frequencies. Like I have a daily frequency, or weekly frequency, or monthly frequency, or sometimes we may also have like a quarterly frequency, and finally you may also have yearly frequency. That means when I say it's a daily frequency, that means I'm trying to load the data from my Oltp database to somewhere else on daily basis. Likewise, or every day in the morning, 6 a.m. my load starts. That means I'm trying to take my data, extract the data from my Oltp database and push it to some other database or push it to some other place. Okay, once I do that, the Oltp database now will not have any kind of data. So it's like a truncate and reload. So I'm trying to take all the data from my Oltp database and pushing to somewhere else. So once I do that, then automatically now I'll be having a fresh data again in my Oltp database. For example, you started your load on Monday. So Tuesday morning, you try to load all the data you have, all the transactions which are done on Monday will be loaded to some other database on Tuesday morning 6 a.m. So now you will be no more having your data in your Oltp database. So in that scenario, from there onwards, Monday data will not be current anymore, but that will be your historical data, because now currently you are storing the data for Tuesday but not for Monday. Similarly, now when your Wednesday morning 6 a.m. comes into picture, all your Tuesday data will be loaded to some other database. Now you do not have your current transaction anymore in your Oltp database. So at that same time, your Tuesday data is no more current and it becomes a historical, because I'm trying to store now my current transaction for Wednesday. That's how, based upon the frequencies. So suppose I'm talking about monthly. Suppose on Jan 1st until Jan 31st. What I'll do? I will try to store all my data into my Oltp database. So until this particular part, this will be my current data. And once February 1st comes into picture, what I'll do? I'll try to load into somewhere else. So once you load the data, now again you don't have any data in your Oltp database, and your January month data is no more current because you already loaded to somewhere else, and now you are trying to capture your February month data. That's how your frequency is dependent, and that's how until your current transaction, is it a current transaction or it's a historical transaction. So that's how you decide based upon the different frequencies you have in your database. Okay, so coming back here again, so now we came to know that Oltp is a database where it contains your current data. Now I'll come back to this Oltp again. So let's have one more discussion to understand what is other different type of database I'm talking about. Suppose think we have a bank. So any organization generally will be having three levels of people, like upper level people, middle level people and low level people. Okay, so low level people maybe clerks, right, and small other peoples. Middle level people may be like your assistant, manager, something like that, and upper level people may be like I could say like CEO, vice president, your directors, right, your senior managers. All these people comes under your upper level people. Now supposing that you want to deposit some amount in the bank, so what you do? So you go to the bank and you can't ask your clerk or cashier to sit beside you and ask him to do the transaction, right? Or you may directly access the laptop, desktop, or whatever the site the bank relates to. You can't do that, right? Because you are not the authorized person to use the system of your bank. Then who will do for you? So on behalf of you, a clerk will try to do the current transaction, like whatever it may be. It may be a withdrawal of amount, it may be a depositing of amount, what may be it can be. That current transaction will be done by a clerk on behalf of you, and clerk will access again your Oltp database, because we know that any transaction done will be done via your Oltp database only. So not only clerk, suppose nowadays it's not a mandate that you need to go to the bank, right? So you can transfer the amount, you can deposit the amount, or something like that. Until and unless you need a hard cash, you don't need to go out of your home. Right? So similarly, as a customer, being a customer like us, also we can access the Oltp database. That's what we're trying to do, right? Because we are trying to insert all the transaction data at the back end, even though you don't know that. So as a low level people, we are more interested in your Oltp database, because as a customer, I always check what is my current available amount. So I don't want my past history, because I want to know what is my available account balance I'm having. So as a low level people, I'm more interested. Now, what about my upper level and middle level people? So what are they are interested in more? They are interested not in your current transaction as we do. Then what they're interested, what they are bothered about. So they are bothered about your historical data. They are bothered mostly about your, I would say, history data. So what is this history data? So history data is something like, as I told you, we have frequencies, right? Suppose it's a monthly frequency. Suppose you are in February month now, what you try to do? You try to load your January month. So January month will be your history data, and your current month is your February. So once March month comes into picture, your February month and your January month both together becomes your history data, and March month will be your current. Suppose again, when you come to the April month will be your current data, January month, February month, and your March month will be historical data. So that's about historical data. So why do these people, upper level and middle level people, are mostly interested in my historical data? So let's have one more small example. Suppose, think that I have opened one store. It can be any business. I just open one store. So generally, when we open a store, we invite our well-wishers, we invite our relatives, we invite our friends. Why? Just to give the information that I am opened a store. At the same time, I want to get blessings from all of my well-wishers, relatives, and my friends. So due to that reason being, these people come on the same day when the store got opened, and to encourage me or to bless me or to give me more motivation, they try to purchase one or other product and they go to home. So think that on the day one, you try to sold around 1 lakh. 1 lakh. So since you had 1 lakh on the day one, do you think that you are successful in the business? So day one means it's just first day of your business. So just current data you had now. So based upon this, can we say that yes, I'm successful in the market, I'm successful in the business? No. Then when do you say that okay, I'm good with my business? Only after maybe around 6 months or maybe around 1 year. So after 1 year, when I look back, now I would see like where I stand in the market. So yes, I'm able to make some kind of business. I'm able to sell my products very efficiently. Or why this particular product is not been sold out that much effectively, or why this has been getting out so much easily out. So where I'm lacking more. So how could I attract more customers, or how could I build up more business? So all these things, all these nothing but different kind of analysis part which you are having in your mind. To get the answers for all these things, you should have your historical data. That means that is a 1 year back history data. You should do a part analysis over there. So once you do the analysis on your historical data, then you will come to know where you stand in the market. Suppose you, by seeing the data or analyzing the data, you found that yes, this is the product I'm not able to sell. So what should I do now? Do I need to give more offer on this particular product, like reducing the price for the product, or shall I give something else product free with this particular product? Or like, in order to attract my customers more, in order to make my business more, shall I announce any other offers? So what should I do? So all these things will you come to know only when you analyze your historical data. So based upon your current data, you do not do anything. You don't know where you stand. But after 1 year or after 6 months of your business, yes, by seeing the whole transactions done in this particular 1 year, now you can understand where you stand. That is the reason being your upper level people and middle level people are also more interested in your historical data. By seeing the things, they can understand like, okay, how many customers are opened a new account in my bank? Why these customers are closing the account? So in order to attract more customers, shall I give offers like on my savings bank interest, or shall I do any other things so that customers may be attracted towards my bank and they open more accounts? So what should I do? So in order to know all these things, first of all, they should analyze the whole data what they have until now. That is the reason being your upper level people and middle level people are more interested in your historical data. Now, we know that your current data resides in your Oltp database, but where is your historical data resides, or where your historical data is been placed? So that one placed in a separate database called as your Oltp database. So this is called as your online analytical processing database. Online analytical processing database. That's here. Analytical, the word, it says that I'm trying to do some kind of analysis. Analysis means finding out what is the reason for something, for an issue. Okay, so you do some kind of analysis and find out that yes, this is why it became, my business got dull. This is why I'm not able to sell this product. This is why my customers are going out of my bank. So after analysis part, now what you do? I'll take my decisions on my business so that I can improve my business. So all this analysis part will be done only on your which data? On your historical data, and that resides in your Oltp database. Okay. So let me go with one more misprint here. So now we came to know that we have two databases. One is like Oltp database where it contains my current data, and I have one more database called as my Oltp database where it contains my historical data. Now we know that for Oltp the sources will come from different source systems, like we do transactions online, we do transactions offline, right? So supposing that this is a source one, or I could say like this is your place one, this is a separate place and this is a different place. From all these places I am trying to do my transactions, and finally at the back end I'm trying to store my data in my Oltp database. So fine, we came to know that for our Oltp database the source is nothing but our different source systems. Now what is the source to my Oltp? That's a question now again came here. So earlier we spoke that the data based upon my frequency, it can be daily, monthly or weekly, whatever it is, based upon the frequency, I will try to load the data from my Oltp database to somewhere else. That somewhere is nothing but my Oltp database. Okay, so until I try to move my data from my Oltp, the data what we have in your database is called as current. Once the data is moved from my Oltp to Oltp, this will become your historical data. Okay, suppose as I spoke earlier, like suppose I have January month data going on here. So once the February 1st comes into picture, what I'll do, I'll move my January month data to my over here, and in here I don't have January month data anymore, but I will try to store my February month data. So once March 1st comes into picture, I'll push my February month data to my Oltp, and I don't have February month data anymore, and now I'll be having my March month data. That's how. So this will be your current transactions and this will be your historical data. Okay, so now the process of loading the data from my Oltp database to my OLAP database, that process is called as your ETL. So what do you mean by ETL? E means it's nothing but extracting the data from Oltp database. T means transforming the data as per my client requirement. And finally L means loading the data into OLAP database. So this arithmetic, I'll do extraction from my Oltp database, and finally in between I'll do some kind of transformation, and finally I'll load my data into my OLAP database. So here I can easily understand what is E and what is L, but what do you mean by transformation? So in general, like when transformation, let me explain you with a small example. Like in general, when you go to register yourself in any like a shopping site like Amazon, or like you have Flipkart, or you have something else. So no site restricts you that you should do in this way. You should write only small letters, or you should write only in capital letters. So no site restricts you. Right, because this is a very competitive world. If any sites have more restriction, then yes, for sure, no customer will show interest towards a particular site. So they'll move on to other sites where it is more friendly, right? For that reason being, so in order to not to lose the customers, what we do, we try to, it will be a friendly user sites. For that reason being, suppose I wrote like in small letters like Sham. Similarly, I can also write in capital letters. Similarly, I can write like in initial capital letter. So this is my small lowercase, uppercase, and initial capital letter. So when you have this different kinds of formats in my Oltp database, while pushing it to my Oltp database, while pushing it to my OLAP, I should not have these many formats. So what client said in between that, convert all, or I can say the best word is like transform all data into uppercase and push it into OLAP DB. This is the instruction given by my client. So what I'll do now, simply I'll try to apply a logic such a way that all the data, whatever the format of my data is in, it will try to convert into uppercase and finally load it into my OLAP database. That is nothing but loading. So this is nothing but your transforming of data. Okay, so this is how you can do some kind of transformations. Or else, with one more example, suppose in Oltp I have a separate column for first name, and also I have a separate column for my middle name, and also a separate column for my last name. But in my OLAP database, this is my Oltp database, but in my OLAP database, client said that I don't have these many columns, but I have only one column called as name. So what should I do now? So client wants that he want to concatenate all my information over here and finally push it to my name column. So what I did here, I just took the data from here and I gave like first name, concatenate with my middle name, concatenate with my last name, and finally push my data to my OLAP in your name column. So this is how, this is like transforming the data as per your client requirement. Okay, so not only this, like we also have some kind of business logics inside that. So likewise, suppose if the data in OLTP is new record. New record. That means it's not present in your OLAP. Not present in OLAP DB. Then what I want to do? Then I want to insert the data, because this is a new record, this is a new customer came up, new registration of a customer is done, and it's coming in my Oltp database and it's not present in my OLAP. So I want to insert my data. At the same time, one more logic, like if the data in OLTP is old record, that means already present, I could say already present in OLAP DB. Then in this scenario, what I want to do? I want to update the old record in OLAP database. So this is what I want to do. So these are nothing but different kind of business logics where client need. So this is all comes under your transformation part. This all comes under your transformation. Okay. So now coming back to my picture again here. So by using your ETL, I'm trying to extract the data. Finally, I'm trying to transform the data, and later I'm trying to load my data into my OLAP database. Okay. So now this process of extracting the data, transforming the data, and loading the data, who does this? And that process will be done by Informatica. So extracting, transforming, and loading, this is the process done by your tool Informatica. So Informatica is an ETL tool where it extracts the data from my Oltp database, transforms the data, and finally load the data into my OLAP database. Okay, that is the importance of your Informatica. I hope you understood now why we need this Informatica and in which scenario we use this Informatica. Finally, now after loading the data, I'm having my historical data at my OLAP database, and as I said earlier, who needs this data? Your upper level people, that means higher hierarchy people like your CEOs, vice president, directors. But in general, like CEOs or vice president people may be having like aged around 65 to 70, or it may be anything. But at the same time, it's not a mandatory part that these directors or vice presidents should have the technical knowledge. Why? Because in order to get the report out, from your OLAP database, I should fire a query. Without writing a query, how could I get my data out? Right? So in order to get the data out, I should fire a query. I should write a query. So in order to write a query, you should have your technical knowledge in writing such kind of queries. So, but do you think that these higher hierarchy people will have the technical knowledge? They may or they may not have. Right? For that reason being, in order to not to rely on themselves, because it's always tough to have such kind of things, for that reason being, they created one more team called as reporting team. So this team, what they'll do, like they try to use some kind of tools like Cognos, next like OBIEE, or like Tableau, or like I could say like ClickView. So all these different tools, all these tools are reporting tools. So what these people will do, like based upon the requirement, as a ETL developer gets a requirement, like yes, this is the thing you need to do. Likewise, as I told you earlier, like yes, when I have the data like this, then when I have data like this, then I want to convert all my data in uppercase, or when I have my 3 different columns here, I want to send it to only one column, or this is the main business requirement. So all these things I'll be getting in a single document. Similar to that, even your Reporting purpose also will be getting the own documents, own requirements. Based upon that, they fire a query on your Oltp database, and finally they give your reports to your business people, or I would say those are end users. So this is the whole flow where we can have the right from where we start the data generation, and finally who needs that, and finally where it goes. So as a source system, as a normal customer like us, we try to do some kind of transactions where it moves to my Oltp database, and using your ETL Informatica tool, what I try to do, I try to extract the data from your Oltp database, transform the data, and finally load my data with respect to different frequencies. It may be a daily frequency or weekly, whatever it is. And once the data is available in my OLAP database, then our reporting people will try to pick up the data from there and finally create your reports and simply hand it over to our end users. So this is the whole about the whole process generally we go. Hope you understood now what is an ETL tool, what is an Informatica tool, what it does, and where we require this particular tool. Okay. So guys, so next class or in the next session, we'll try to look up like in more detail about our data warehouse, because we just spoke about what is Oltp database and OLAP database, and we have many things to talk about our data warehouse, because without knowing data warehousing concepts, nothing to do in Informatica level. Because in general Informatica, we try to say that I have loaded my dimension table, I have loaded my fact table. So what is this dimension table? What is this fact table? So in order to understand all these things, we should know a data warehouse concepts. Okay. Hope you understood, guys. We'll meet in next session. Thank you.